In case you don't follow Formula One news and rumors, there have been a ton of rumors saying that Adrian Newey will not sign with Ferrari and will instead go to Aston Martin for reasons like the project. This came as shocking news, certainly to me at least, since in past videos I seemed so confident he would go to Ferrari since it was one of his goals in his career. However, in typical Ferrari fan fashion, our dreams were crushed. Anyways, this rumored move to Aston Martin may seem a little bit strange to some people considering the downward trajectory of the team when it comes to car upgrades. However, I actually think this can be a great move since with the funding of the billionaire, there will be lots of high-end facilities and resources at the disposal of Adrian Newey. Plus, the team actually has ambition to be at the front, with their only problem being car development. So, in theory, this move can fix that, and who knows, maybe that early 2023 Aston Martin performance can be even better and last the whole season in the future. So this thought inspired me to create this video in a what if manner, with the topic being, what is Aston Martin's dream scenario for 2026 and can it be achievable? So like I said, Adrian Newey is rumored to have signed or nearly signed with Aston Martin, and these rumors come from very credible sources, so it truly looks like this will happen. And like I also said, he seems enticed by the project, since the team truly just needs to fix their car development trajectory and their Stroll problem, and then they're golden. Plus, not to mention, he could potentially also work on the WEC project using his knowledge of his previous car for Aston Martin, the Valkyrie. The details of Newey's contract is also massive, since Aston Martin is willing to pay $100 million for his services. So he's basically going to do what he did at Red Bull, but for way more money and a more stable environment. Which leads us into the state of Red Bull itself and why Newey left in the first place. Albeit this will be speculation, but I really doubt this is wrong considering context clues. Anyways, we all know the Horn Dog scandal and how it tanked the reputation of Red Bull, and we also know the power struggle between the Red Bull company and Christian Horner, so it's fair to say that Red Bull isn't the most stress-free environment right now, and now the employees are living in masses, which may be contributing to the downward in performance by Red Bull. And with a team like AMR, who are controversy-free for the most part and looks to be a stable team, it makes sense to me why people would go there, or a team like Audi, which is a project in the making. Anyways, I now want to talk about a potential domino effect that can happen for Aston if Newey goes to them. And by dominoes, I mean any potential new signings or sackings that may follow from Newey signing. And remember, this is a what if scenario, so these have a chance of coming true, but this is still speculation, so remember that. The first domino is Alonso retiring soon and his replacement being Max Verstappen. Think about it, Red Bull are starting to fail him since the power struggle, and he could say whatever he wants in interviews, but for sure this transfer cannot be written off due to multiple reasons. One reason being Newey, since he has worked with him and speaks highly of him. So if he moves to Aston Martin, he could drive Newey cars again. And the second reason being him reunited with Honda, since if they are anything like they were in 2021, Max will for sure be happy to be back with them. And a third reason as to why he would do this move is the potential idea of racing for Aston Martin in Le Mans, since Max has expressed interest in racing the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and with their car being based on the Valkyrie, the Aston Martin hypercar may be something special and Max can be one of the drivers at the helm of it. There is a lot of opportunity for Max to grow at Aston Martin, so for the sake of this what if dream scenario, let's say this move happens. Another domino that can fall for Aston Martin is the sacking of Lance Stroll, finally, and his replacement being Yuki Tsunoda. This has less to do with Newey and more to do with Honda and the unstable Red Bull. So first up, Honda. It's obvious. He was funded by Honda to get into F1 and has been a Honda driver for most of his career. So with their return to F1 with Aston Martin, I'm sure they're going to want to go for him, and this can mainly happen due to Red Bull's unstableness, since they're not even considering Yuki for Red Bull despite him being the second best Red Bull driver this year. So with Aston's ambition plus Newey and Honda, this move can seem very likely to happen in my opinion. So let's say this new lineup for 2026 at Aston Martin is Verstappen and Tsunoda, with Newey designing the car and working with Dan Fallows again, and a plethora of other factors such as their strategy being fixed and car development actually going up for the sake of the dream. How good can this lineup be for 2026? Well, in my opinion, it is pretty simple since it would probably rely on one factor, that being their engine. If their engine is good and competitive with the other engines, they could probably be frontrunners with a great Newey and Fallows car. However, if the engine is more like the 2014 to 2018 Renault engine, meaning probably the worst engine on the grid, then they're more likely to perform like Red Bull during that time, meaning third, sometimes fourth fastest car on the grid, which is still podium contender, but not championship contender. Either way, Adrian Newey and Dan Fallows, who worked really well together at Red Bull, would be able to create a car that should challenge for victories, so it is a good time to be an Aston Martin fan if I were one. Plus, you can include the funding by Lawrence Stroll and the high-end facilities, then I honestly can't think of a reason as to why Newey wouldn't be able to build a good car for Aston. However, there is one problem with this reality though. That problem being, this is no way likely to happen. And I say this because of one thing, the Stroll problem. Any team would kill to have Lawrence Stroll's funding for their team, however, every team would kill themselves if they were now forced to have Lance Stroll as one of their drivers. Sure, Lance can be great on his day, but when your day is like once a season, then that is extremely bad, since yes, you get millions in funding, you also get millions in damage, which sucks obviously. Well, if Lance has to be one of the drivers, then surely they could still grab Max or Yuki and hope that counters that problem, right? Well, no. Even though Red Bull is imploding, Max has stated multiple times that it doesn't affect him since he's just a driver, and even though it is clearly starting to affect his results, he still remains adamant on his comments, and even if he grows tired and leaves, he's not likely to join somewhere else since he has again said multiple times that he would prefer retirement if he grows tired of F1. So perhaps he will take a Hakkinen sabbatical instead of driving for another team. And then with Yuki, he is not a Honda driver anymore. They might not go for him and rather go for someone else. Plus, not to mention, Yuki wants a competitive car, and Aston Martin as it stands currently is more likely to have a mid car than Red Bull is. So for Yuki's own ambition, he may decline the offer by Aston Martin. And finally, there is the real reason as to why Aston Martin's upgrade sucks, and it's not because Dan Fallows is an idiot, it's because there are a lot of miscorrelation issues, meaning that the sim performance is different or not identical to the real life performance. As we saw with Merc in 2022, this is a problem that does not get fixed right away. Matter of fact, it's only gotten fixed recently, within the past year or so. So even if Newey develops a good car or car part, there is the issue of it not performing in the sim or not performing in real life. So is there a solution to these issues? Well, of course, but it's not quick. The solution is just fixing the sim. Simple. They clearly need to make the sim more accurate or build an entire new one, because as we saw with Merc in 2022 and Red Bull currently, miscorrelation will destroy an entire season. So Aston Martin need to make sure they are perfect, and then maybe, just maybe, there can be a chance that we see Aston Martin at the front come 2026. So there is the dream scenario for Aston Martin in my opinion, as well as the chances of this happening. Overall, if you're an Aston Martin fan, I would be optimistic despite the issues, since Merc got them fixed and look how they turned out. So if the same fortune can happen at Aston Martin, then there are bright times ahead for you guys. I will say though, the prospect of a Verstappen-Yuki partnership with a car designed by Newey and Fallows would cook, and if the car and engine are great, I have zero doubt they can be a new constructor and driver champion. Also, it's pretty ironic that the dream scenario for Aston is just full of people who used to be associated with Red Bull, so if you're a Red Bull fan, dark times are ahead, I imagine. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe since that would greatly help me in creating better content, and let me know in the comments what you think of the scenario, as well as adding on to it, and as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.